Hi guys, welcome back to Better Developer Docs. In this video, I'm going to run you through um, sort of an introduction to a WordPress course. And this WordPress course is going to take you all the way from beginner. So I'm calling that kind of the 101 style. It's going to take you from a very sort of basic level of WordPress all the way up to customizing your themes, plugins for your site, and also troubleshooting any advanced topics. In the first playlist, I'm going to split this up into 3 playlists. So beginner level, intermediate level, advanced level. Actually, I'm going to do 4, and then troubleshooting for some of the more offbeat topics. I'll go through now what I'm going to cover in the beginner playlist over several videos. So initially, I'm going to talk about getting your site live on the internet. There are various ways to do that, and I'll take you through all of those comprehensively. Once your site is on the internet, we'll go through logging in. This is the main way that you're going to be able to control your site as the owner of the site. We're then going to go and just have a look at some CMS basics and also understand how the menu structure works in the admin area of WordPress. The CMS being the sort of the admin backend of WordPress. We're then going to look at the sort of the fundamental things that you can do in the CMS. So we're going to talk about posts and pages. We'll talk about plugins, which is how you'd add functionality to a website, whether that's aesthetic or whether that's more sort of practical, like something in the database or something like that. We're also going to talk about themes, which is the main way that you control how a site looks to the person viewing it. And then I think this might be the most important part for beginners, which is just the FAQ. And this is like a really basic style FAQ that is designed for people who have, zero understanding of websites. And the reason for that is because, if you tackle, it's useful to understand the website from this angle. However, as a complete newbie, you more likely will come to understand WordPress by tackling a few sort of newbie tasks. So, for example, if your site encounters an error, how do I deal with that? If your website is slow, how do you deal with that? How do you customize a theme or a plugin? How do you if you install a theme or a plugin, you might want to add your own touches to it. How do you go ahead and do that? If you want to add some functionality to your website, say you want a slider, or say you want an affiliate program, or say you want a members area, say you want e-commerce, whatever. How do you go about doing all those things? The short answer is you find a plugin, but how do you find the plugin? How do you assess the plugin? All that sort of stuff. We're then going to look at how you can go ahead and play around with themes and plugins without actually testing or sort of messing up your live site. So how do you sort of test them before you sort of purchase them or actually launch them to your site? And then we're going to look at how you sort of achieve certain styles or effects or layouts, because oftentimes people will sort of come into WordPress, they have a site, and then they kind of want to know, I like how this other website does their design, and I want to sort of mimic something there. And so how do I recreate that effect on my own website? And so then through that lens, you then might go to learn about, okay, I need a plugin to do that, or I need a theme to do that. And then this other information that we're covering is going to be very useful, because once you get the answer here on how to execute, you then know all all of the ins and outs of the CMS. So that's the beginner level tour of the WordPress software. And and so that's the beginner level tour of the WordPress software. I'm going to create one whole playlist for the beginner level, so you can go ahead and check that out under the playlist tab of this channel. Then I'm going to go and look at a bit more of an intermediate level of WordPress. So what are some essential plugins you need to keep your site secure from hackers, to keep it running fast, those kinds of things. How do you deal with updating those plugins, and also the WordPress software itself? Sometimes that can be problematic, and if you've got a WordPress website, you're going to have to deal with that at some time. How do you keep your site safe? So on top of the essential plugins, there are also other methods that you can use to keep your site safe from hackers or nefarious users in general. How do you speed up your site? Site speed's a major sort of thing with all websites, but there are specific things we can do in WordPress to get your site super fast. How do we create a backup just in case somehow our server goes down or we're hacked or whatever? We always want to have a relatively fresh, 24-hour-old max sort of copy of the site ready just to sort of package up and relaunch just in case we ever get into trouble. How do we move our site? So oftentimes people come into WordPress via WordPress.com, and then after some time they understand that this isn't the best option, so they try to move to like a third-party host, like maybe SiteGround or Bluehost or whoever. So we'll cover that, and that's your intermediate level sort of tour of WordPress. And after that, we're going to go to a more advanced level. And the things we're going to be covering there is how you customize a theme. So in detail, I know I've talked about this in the previous sort of sections, but how do you customize a theme in detail? How do you create a child theme? How do you make sure that your old theme doesn't get overwritten and all that? How do you use WordPress native hooks and features, and also the hooks and filters, and also the hooks and filters of various plugins that you might be using. How do you use WordPress's native PHP functions? So WordPress has a bunch of PHP. If you're willing to code a little bit, then this is going to be something that you're going to get into. If you're interested in coding in PHP, then this is something you're going to need to know. Not all users need to know it, but obviously in the advanced level, you will need that. How do you customize a plugin? There are certain ways to do that are very specific to WordPress. Again, you're going to be writing code there. How do you write your own theme? How do you write your own plugin? How do you set up more advanced testing environments? So let's say you're a developer or you're an aspiring WordPress developer, and you want to like work on a site prior to it being publicly launched. So there's various ways that you can tackle doing that. So we're going to cover that. When you get into trouble in WordPress, like you're coding and you have some sort of an error that you're not clear on how to get past or debug, we're going to cover how you would go about debugging in WordPress. That's a specific topic. So there's your advanced level of WordPress. We're then going to have a look at specific sort of situations that you're going to need to troubleshoot at some point. So, what do you do if your site's been hacked? What do you do if your site is slow? What do you do if you're not sure what to do? Some of you might be very new to WordPress, and maybe there's a question that you have which isn't even covered in this course. So where do you go for help? So I'll show you how to do that. And then I'm probably not going to make a playlist on this, but I might. Let's see. So if you want to go further with your WordPress knowledge, then where can you go after this video series? How can you advance your learning? depending on who you are when you're watching this, you might be someone who wants to start working with WordPress and maybe getting clients and getting paid to be a WordPress developer. So some of these courses could be things that you want to do in order to make sure that you're skilled enough to go out into the marketplace and offer your services. Or there might just be, maybe you have an e-commerce site and you just want to know more about how to do things, save yourself hiring a developer, save yourself a little bit of money by doing things yourself. These courses can come in handy. This course that I'm running through is pretty hardcore extensive. You could definitely go a long way just on this course, but I'll cover a few things, a few other courses as well. Some of them are paid. This one is free. So yeah, that is the introduction video, guys. Hopefully see you in the other videos.